campus of James Madison University, this is Midweek, a student-produced and directed talk show featuring newsmakers and events from around the Shenandoah Valley. Good afternoon. I'm your host, Stephen Fogelman, and over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be discussing Christmas. Since Christmas is time for reflecting, we're also going to be talking about our past shows this semester and some of our more interesting shows. Also, we're going to be talking with a group whose name seems to be synonymous with Christmas, and that is the group, the Salvation Army. I've got two of my guests today here from the Salvation Army. They are Major Ben Walters and Cadet Tom Pascal. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Needless to say, this has got to be the busiest time of year for you.
Yes, indeed it is. We've been geared up and running since October.
This has also got to be a time of year that you can do the most good, obviously.
Very true. And of course, this is a time of the year when you have more people who are really in need of a caring touch as much as anything else.
Mm-hmm. And more than anything, more than any other time of the year, Christmas is a time when even needy people need to have some pat on the back and some relaxation.
Very true.
That's why I want to talk to you about the history of the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army wasn't founded just for Christmas. Why don't you tell me about some of its roots?
No, the Salvation Army was founded in 1865 by a Methodist minister in London, England, whose name was William Booth. William Booth was concerned about the people who lived in the slum area of the east side of London, and was concerned that they hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. And when he talked with his conference about it, they were not really interested in him going to start a church there or to preach there, because they felt like that would be a waste of good talent. And he was very successful, and his churches grew wherever he went, and they wanted him to stay where he could reach the people with the money. And finally, he felt like that he had no other choice, that was his calling. And he came in contact with a group called the East London Christian Mission. They heard him speak. They urged him to be their speaker. He later became their general superintendent, and he realized that it was hard to talk with these people about their soul's condition if their stomach was growling.
Right.
And if they were cold because of the lack of proper clothing. And so he began to also try to take care of their physical needs as well as their spiritual needs. The East London Christian Mission grew by leaps and bounds, and then they had to change the name to the Christian Mission because it was no longer just in the east side. Right. And they finally came to a point where they were writing a document, and one had written it, "We are a volunteer army." Mm-hmm. And Booth scratched through the volunteer because his son said, "Hey, I'm regular. If I'm anything, I'm not just a volunteer."
And it really is an army.
And yes, it is. And so
a war against poverty, a war against hunger,
right.
a war against iconoclasm, and those being unable to hear to participate in religious activities.
Very true. Mm-hmm. And William Booth scratched through the word volunteer and wrote over it salvation, and it became known as the Salvation Army.
And it is appropriate, Major Walters, to refer to you as a Salvationist?
Yes, that is correct. And we are a denomination, and we are known as Salvationists. Mm-hmm. And of course, our doctrine is very similar to the Methodist because that is our origin. Mm-hmm. William Booth was a man that was probably at least 100 years ahead of his time. He was concerned in those early days the working conditions of the people there. Mm-hmm. He bought a match factory and changed the working hours, quit using child labor, improved the safety measures, and showed the owners of factories then that they could make a profit and still have a safe place for people to work.
Okay. We're going to go to a commercial and come back and talk some more on the subject. Stay tuned to Midweek.
Could you tell us what you like most about Christmas?
I like the aspect of being with family and conversing with the people that I love, and most of all knowing that Jesus Christ was born on this day.
Well, I enjoy spending time with my family and having the time off from having to study, of course, and stressing out.
I like being able to go home and get away from classes for a while, and also getting presents.
Probably just all the joy that everybody's got, camaraderie. It's really good. Plus, so you get close with all your friends and your family. I think that's really key.
What I like about Christmas is the fact that, well, it doesn't happen much, but I like the fact of Christ being the center of Christmas. There's like this thing we have in our hometown. Jesus is the reason for the season, and I personally agree with that because I have a Christian background, and I feel that Christ should be, even though I don't think he is.
Welcome back to Midweek. I'm Stephen Fogelman. This is our Christmas show, and we will be continuing our discussion with Major Ben Walters and Cadet Tom Pascal from the Salvation Army of Harrisonburg. We were talking about the history and just getting out as we had to go to a commercial, unfortunately. I want you to finish a story about William Booth, and then I'd like to ask you about some of the services that you offer.
Okay. William Booth, as I said earlier, bought a match factory and really showed the owners of other factories in that time period what could be done and still make a profit. And that wasn't the only thing he did. He started an insurance company for low-income people so that they could have insurance. And there were a number of things. He wrote a book called Darkest England and The Way Out. And the book was used in this country for many years as a textbook for social workers who were getting their degrees in that field. So he was quite a remarkable person.
It is. It's a fascinating history. But what about the Harrisonburg chapter? When did you open up for business?
The Salvation Army began here in the late 20s, and interestingly enough, two ladies began the work here in Harrisonburg. They came to town and they didn't have, they had spent all their money for their train fare and their meal, and they got off the train, found out that there was a lady that had a rooming house, and she said, I only rent to men, but I do have an attic room that you can use. And they said, can we go and get our luggage and pay you when we come back? And she said, certainly. They went to the train station, got their luggage, which one of the items was a big bass drum, and they had a young man that helped them carry it, and they got to Court Square, and they did a Salvation Army street meeting and set their little tambourine out, and folks passing by gave donations. They took, when they finished the meeting, they went to the ladies'